Welcome everyone to our training session on how applications are evaluated and ranked for the 2024 open application period. This is also known as Cycle 5. This session will last approximately 1 hour, and in that time we will demonstrate the requirements the MPO must satisfy to rank and recommend new MCPs for possible inclusion into the 5-year plan as defined by the Second Amendment. A couple housekeeping issues to address. The Zoom webinar only allows you to post your questions using the chat function. So that means you'll be muted throughout the presentation and the demonstration. However, our team will be monitoring your questions throughout the session and respond to those questions in the order that they are posted. Feel free to post your questions at any time during the session. At the end of the demonstration, you're also going to have another opportunity to ask additional questions, and we can have conversation at that point. Well, during the registration, you had an opportunity to share your expectations for the session with our team and identify the areas of interest that you'd like us to focus on. So we use that information to tailor this training session to your self-reported needs, making sure that they matched what you needed to hear from us. To ensure that you have the information you need about the application process, we're also going to be including as part of this presentation a list of the resources available during the open application period and important dates to remember. The new MCP website is your one-stop shop to help you through the process. The site includes the new MPO evaluation and ranking process that's published each year to help applicants understand the requirements to submit an application and the process the MPO uses to rank and recommend new MCPs to the MAP administrator. It also includes all the events and news items posted during the open application period to keep you up to date and notify you of the support and training we offer. We encourage you to visit it regularly and subscribe to the site to get the latest news and events. You'll also have the use of the site to schedule meetings with our team that can help you through the process, and you can answer questions directly. We've actually had multiple one-on-one meetings that have occurred so far. Most important date to remember is that you have until October 8th to develop your applications and submit them via the new MCP application portal. You cannot submit your applications after the deadline, and you'll have to wait till next year for another opportunity. You can start submitting applications on February 9th, but you may develop them at any time. The portal is available to you anytime to start the process, and there's no better time than now to get started developing your applications. So just as a reminder, the MPO's role in the surtax program is limited to the ranking and recommendation of MCPs. We're not involved in the other municipal programs funded by the MAG, including community shuttles and the rehabilitation and maintenance program. We're also not involved in the eligibility reviews or have a role in executing the funding agreements. It's our job to rank and recommend these projects. However, we do our best to forward any questions that you have in which we don't have a role to the MAP administrator. So the new MPO E&R process that we update every year acts as really our North Star in ranking and recommending the applications. This flowchart provides an overview of each step of the process, including what happens to the new MCPs recommended within the MAG for the cycle. The colors of each shape indicate who is responsible for the data, a process, or a decision. As discussed earlier, the MPO's role and responsibilities center on collecting, evaluating, ranking, and recommending new MCP applications. The county is responsible for conducting preliminary eligibility reviews and providing us the amount of the available MAG for each cycle, which we typically receive in April. Our final task is developing a list of recommended new MCPs that we submit to the MAP administrator by June 1st. We evaluate these applications per the requirements of the Second Amendment. The scoring of applications is grouped into two categories, primary and secondary. The primary criteria center on the types of improvements included within your projects. Points are assigned based on the improvement type selections that you do within the first stage of the application development. You'll actually see that as part of one of our development demonstrations. Two of these variables are dependent on geographic evaluations that we're also going to demonstrate later in the training session, which include the gap filling and public schools. The secondary criteria center on a variety of variables outlined in the Second Amendment as well. Here, points are assigned based on a number of geographic and non-geographic evaluations using both open source data and information provided by the MAP administrator. Two of these variables are dependent on geographic evaluations that we will be demonstrating later on in the session, including resiliency, climate change, multi-jurisdictional projects, and projects that are within underserved areas for economic impact. There will be 2 non-geographic variables that we're also going to look at, which is independent cost estimates and public support. The projects are ranked using the total scores of the points assigned to each variable in the primary and secondary criteria. The higher the score, the higher the rank. The highest ranked projects within the MAG are recommended to the MAP administrator. The purpose of these demonstrations is to help you, the applicants, understand our process in order to prepare the most competitive applications possible and inform project selection by understanding how these projects align with the program. So the 3 that we're going to demonstrate today is reviewer notes and suggestions, geographic evaluations, and non-geographic evaluations. So some of these are live demonstration and other are recorded because ArcView has has a uncanny ability to freeze on us when we're doing these processes. So thank you for your patience and the excitement related to this in getting you through this, because we are going to have a few live demonstrations. We've rehearsed. We feel it's going to go well, but you never know how it's going to go. So let's dive in. Our first live demonstration is going to be the reviewer notes and suggestions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as training, and these are going to be the exact same projects that you saw in our last training session. So let me just get here. This is the dashboard that you're used to seeing. Obviously, it gets updated for whoever logs in. These are the 5 demo projects that we have developed related to that. It's the same thing that you saw in the last training. You've got the review key that shows you if there's input required, a review's in process, completed, and if something is or isn't available. So if you have any questions about completing an application, that is on our YouTube channel, and there was actually a news item that just went out related to that on Monday. So if you need any help related to that, just let us know and we can help you with that. So what we're going to start with is the reviewer notes and suggestions. This becomes vital to your process. So I'm looking at Northwest 209th Avenue. So right now it says that I have municipal input that is required. So if I go to this project, you'll see that I've identified several improvement types that we're applying for. And you can essentially select all that apply. So it can be as little or as many as related to your project. In this particular case, though, I want to point out that there are a few that are starred here: landscaping, signage. These are items in which the Second Amendment have different eligibility requirements and some funding restrictions. So this becomes important for us as a reviewer, just as an identification that there's more work for us to look at as part of your application. This project also includes traffic calming, which you've selected then 1 in this particular case of a raised crosswalk and intersection. The other thing I want to point out related to this application is that we've identified this as part of a school zone. As I mentioned before, this becomes part of our geographic reviews that we do, but we ask you to identify this because it gives us a flag to know that this is a project that you see as being as part of the school zone. We verified that as part of our process. We also recommend that you give as much information in your map as you possibly can, particularly if you've got a school there. It becomes very helpful for us to be able to do that quickly. So I feel comfortable with what I've created here, and I'm going to request a review. I go here and I submit. That now goes to one of our team members. You get an identification here, and the team member that helps me with this process is Ishan. So Ishan's going to be doing the review. So while he's doing that, you'll see that the review is in process. So it's no longer blue. It means the input is done. You now see it as being gray where the process is completed. And Ishan will let me know once he's completed it, and then I'll go in and show you 2 options to be able to look at the reviewer notes.
I thought step 1 of the application has been reviewed and the reviewer comments have been sent back.
Thank you, Ishan. So I'm going to refresh my screen and you'll see that it has now turned green. Now, there are 2 ways to get to the reviewer comments. The first way is that you can go into the application itself and see them at the bottom where you see that the general information was approved, and the information is there. However, I like to actually go to the Manage section where we have Action History. This allows you to open it up and see the larger screen about all of the information that's been provided. So Ishan, if you want to give some information about what they should be looking for in this process.
Thank you, Todd. So these reviewer notes typically follow a formatted structure. Paragraph 1 notifies the applicants whether the information provided in step 1 is complete and directly related to the project described. It also provides insights into the specific documentation or project details that applicants must submit in the next step, offering an overview of the expectations for the next phase of the application process. In the second paragraph, we emphasize reviewing the accuracy of the selected improvement types. This is crucial for matching the project description and relevant documents required to be submitted in the later steps of the application. The third paragraph clarifies that these reviews do not confirm the eligibility of the projects. We only verify the relevance of the project information provided and its completeness. After noting the review comments from step 1, the applicant can proceed to step 2 of the application process.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ishan. So again, there's two different ways to look at it. That is the way that I always go, again, going back to manage and the action history. So we're going to go ahead and take you through the process, but Ishan gave you some really important tips there, that first paragraph gives you some instructions on the next step, what to prepare. The second paragraph is typically related to if we see anything about ensuring that it's matching. In this particular case, you've identified that the public school zone is there. We really want to make sure that we have all the information that we can verify that process. And then you had several improvement types that we've selected that we know have further Second Amendment restrictions. And so we just give some information about that in preparing and understanding the preliminary eligibility review that's conducted by Broward County. So as you'll see that we've now been approved for stage 1, I'm going to go ahead and go to stage 2. Look at the information here. I've already got it pre-uploaded. I've got my public involvement information. I've got a resolution of support. I'm comfortable that I've included everything that I needed to relative to step 2. So I request a review. At that point, then it goes to the team. In this case, it's Ishan. You always get an identification that has been submitted for review, and then an email has been sent out. You'll see once again that it is now grayed out, which means a review is in process. And once that review is done, Ishan will let me know. I will refresh, and then I'll show you that information.
Step 2 review has been done and the comments have been sent back.
All right, so as I refresh, it's now turned green. And again, this is one way that you can go into it. You can always go into this section here, see the comment reviews here, or you can go to the action items. In this particular case, I'm going to leave it as part of the application because it's a shorter segment to look at. And then on step 3, I'll show you the full bore. Ishan?
Yeah, for step 2, like step 1, the reviewer comments again notify the applicants whether the information provided in step 2 is complete and directly related to the project described. Applicants are also notified of the required project information and documentation in step 3, like the independent cost estimates and the scope of work. After noting the reviewer comments for step 2, the applicant should proceed to step 3 of the application process.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ishan. All right, so I'm going to come back. I'm going to go to step 3. In this case, I'm looking for design. I'm going to hit edit. You see that I have everything preloaded here, from the cost estimate to the scope of work, general information about what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and request that review. And I will await Ishan to let me know that it is done. Typically, as a point of clarification, we often get these reviewed within 12 hours, 24 hours max. Now, I will say that we try to speed up our time as we get closer to the deadline. Now, we always recommend, please don't wait until the last day to get your applications together. It's definitely helpful for us to be able to do it earlier, but often the last 2 days, we find ourselves trying to do turnarounds within an hour, because we do have some people that might start on that Friday at 8 a.m. and you've got 3 sections to get through. So we need a little time to be able to review the information as well. So Ishan, am I good to go?
Yep, the review has been sent back.
Okay. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and go to the action history, because this allows you to see all 3 of them in line with one another. So you'll see who did the review as part of the team. And in this case, you're now seeing the review from design and funding. I like this because it's transparent and allows you to see all the opportunities. Ishan?
Yep. In this step, As with the previous review steps, we first notify the applicants of the completeness of the information provided in step 3 and whether the information is directly related to the project description. Further, we also remind the applicants of the submission timeline. We also remind them to select their highest priority project to receive a bonus point. Uh, the completion of step 3 marks the final phase of reviewing before the project can be submitted for evaluation and ranking.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ishan. So what we really want to demonstrate as part of this is that we're always giving you tips to make your application more competitive, or areas of concern and challenges that we see with your project or your application, or sometimes just information that would really help us in the evaluation process, which we're going to be taking you through some of the evaluation process, particularly where we use geographic information to do that. But all of that can be really helpful to you. That's why we put that in there. So if you ever have a question about previous reviews, it's actually all logged as part of that process. So we're going to go into the geographic evaluations. This is where I'll bring Tom on from our team to take you through this process. Tom?
Thanks, Todd. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Brandenstein, and I will be going over how the geographic evaluations are performed on projects. As Todd alluded to earlier, there are 5 of the scoring variables that do require geographic evaluations. Those are gap filling, public schools, resiliency, climate change, multi-jurisdictional, and economic impact to underserved areas. Before projects can be evaluated, a spatial layer of the submitted project must be created in the GIS software. The project sketches in the GIS software are drawn based on the information submitted in the project applications. We utilize the map uploaded in the project limits information submitted in step 1 of the application. So it is important that this information accurately represents the project's extents. We will now view a video of how the project spatial layer is created. First, we can see a map and the project limits that were submitted in step 1 of the application. Now we're moving into the GIS software, where we actually sketch out those limits of the project. You can see now that we've reviewed the information, moving into the software, and we're going to create a sketch based off of the map that was provided to us in step 1 of the application. So once this is complete, we now have a spatial representation of the project's limits. And we can go into the attribute table and add the project name so we can keep track of the geographic evaluations as we go through each variable. All right. Cool. So the first variable that we will cover is gap filling. This variable requires a gap in the facility network to be filled in order to be eligible for the available points. Once a project is determined to fill a gap, then it is awarded points based on which facility network it is adding to. The facility point distribution is seen in the column on the right, and this is pulled from that E&R process document that Todd had pulled up earlier in the demonstration. We begin by observing a project being reviewed for gap filling. First, project limits are observed in the aerial imagery, as you're seeing there. When we turn the project layer off, we can see that there is a gap that exists in the current sidewalk network. You can see that being circled where the ends of the sidewalks are, and the red circles there. Yep. Then the sidewalk gap is further confirmed utilizing street level imagery. So we go into street level imagery and verify that that gap does exist in the network, and we walk the length of the project just to confirm. Once then we have completed that visual verification, we then move into our attribute table, and we can mark that that project, yes, does indeed fill a gap. And next, we'll check a gap filling on a roadway project. First, we zoom to that project's location. We can see the project now. And when we toggle this project off, we can clearly see that a road already exists in the project location. This can be noted that it is not, in fact, filling a gap for this particular project. And we note no for that one. All right. The next variable we will cover are the public schools. Projects are eligible for this variable's point if any portion of the project falls within a public school zone. Once a project is determined to be in a public school zone, then it is awarded points based on which elements the project contains. The list of elements and their point value are seen in the column on the right. This is again pulled from the ENR process document that is available to you all. Public schools are reviewed using a public school GIS layer attained from Broward County's GIS portal, and we also use street level imagery in the verification process. First, we will look at a project that does not fall in a public school zone. Public schools are noted in the software by the blue dots you're seeing, and then also a buffer has been applied in the pink circles to give a general sense of the vicinity of a public school. This project does not fall near a public school zone, so we can mark that it is no in the attribute table for this variable. Next, we will look at a project that does fall within a public school zone. On this one, when we zoom into the layer, we can see that the project falls within the buffer created around the public school, giving us an idea that the project is within the vicinity of a public school. We further confirm that the project is in the actual school zone by utilizing the street level imagery. Once we go into the street level imagery, we can see that the school zone is identified by the school speed limit sign, as you can see circled on the screen now. So once we confirm that, then we can confidently say that this, yes, is in a public school zone. And it's added to the attribute table there. The next variable we will be covering is the resiliency and climate change variable. Projects are eligible for points in this variable if a portion of the project falls in an area identified by FEMA as a high-risk flood area. The FEMA flood map was obtained from the Broward County GIS portal for this analysis. First, we start out with a full map created by FEMA. We then extract just the high-risk areas from the FEMA using the FEMA's classification system. You can see the red areas left from the extraction are the ones identified as high-risk areas. The first project we show will be fully within a high-risk flood zone. You can see that the total project area is encompassed in that red area, so that is noting that it is within the high-risk flood zone area. And then we can note that determination in the attribute table. Right, and then the next one we'll look at is one that falls outside of a high-risk flood zone. So here, when we zoom into that project's location, we can see that none of the project's extents fall within the flood zone area. So this project will be determined as a no for the flood zone. And that determination is then added to the attribute table. All right. The next variable we'll look at is the multi-jurisdictional variable. Projects are eligible for points in this category if they cross into 2 different municipalities. Projects are reviewed in this category using the Broward County cities boundary available on the Broward County GIS Data Hub. In the GIS software you're seeing here, the municipality boundaries are represented by the pink lines. When we zoom into the first project, we can see that this does not cross any of those pink boundary lines. So this is going to be a no. And then we zoom over to the second project, and we can already kind of tell at this level that this one is also going to be a no, as it does not cross any of those boundary lines. And both the determinations are added into the attribute table. The final geographically evaluated variable is the economic impact to underserved areas variable. Projects are eligible for these points if they are located in a zip code that has been determined to be an economic impact area. The economic impact zip code list is provided to us by Broward County. Here in the GIS software, the economic impact zones are represented by the teal colored areas you are seeing. Similarly to the flood zone verification, we zoom into project areas and we can visually confirm if a project is located within one of the zip codes or not. So the first one we have is a no, and the second one, when we zoom in, will be a yes. Now we have our 5 variables confirmed for both projects. All right.
Wonderful.
So that can, oh, go ahead, Todd.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say that concludes the review process demonstrations for the 5 geographically evaluated variables. Once the evaluations are finished, the attribute table is exported out of the GIS software, and it is used in the evaluation scoring tool combined with the other variables. Right,
there are
on to you,
2
Todd.
key other factors, thank you, Tom, that we
Yep.
look at. And in particular, there's a couple areas that we've already had in our one-on-one conversations with a few of our folks. And the reason why I want to bring these up, because there are a few cases in which points are being left on the table related to some non-geographic evaluations. So I'm going to go ahead and log back in as a training again. And I'm going to look at one option to give you a sense of what I'm looking for and how it helps me make a determination. The higher the level of the cost estimate, the more points that are awarded. So in this particular case, I'm going to look at something that's a little bit more conceptual. So I'm going to go ahead and download it from my item list here. I'm going to open this up so that way everybody can see it. And oh, okay, hold on. Did I? Oh, I'm sorry. I needed to do the cost estimate. My apology. Not the, that is in stage 3. All right, so if we go, we look and see that it is approved. We're going to go ahead and open that up now as the cost estimate. And you can see in this particular case, it's itemized, but it's itemized to the idea of at least some description of the project, what it's related to, and essentially the elements of that project and roughly how much they cost. In this case too, they give some estimation of construction. So that way we have a sense of where they're at in the conceptual cost estimate standpoint. So this is really helpful for me at the lowest level for us to be able to relate the cost estimate back to what you had put in your project before. So this is more of a conceptual estimate versus something that is a signed and sealed document, which is the highest level that you can have. And in most cases, you're not going to see that in the design level. But this just gives you an example of, this is actually drawn from another one. We borrowed some elements of it with the demo and then related it to the demo project. So this at least gives you the, even if it's the minimum, this could really be helpful for us to help with the scoring. So I have another example that I'm going to show that's a little more preliminary and why it's that way. So I'm going to go in here to the cost estimate that I have downloaded, and this now has both unit and unit prices. So you have partials. So this starts to get into a little bit more of the information about how many units it's going to take, and that can be rolled up then as we go along. So when you're looking at your cost estimates, the more detailed, the better, because we go through these and try to make sure that we align them with the project elements, that we can see everything related to it, and that's really going to help your scoring. So it's not bad necessarily if you upload to say, something that says, hey, this is how much it costs, and there's no backup related to it. The problem is you're just going to be leaving some points on the table if you do that. So that's why we're recommending that at a minimum, give us an itemized list of the activities, general costs that they are, even if you're just doing percentage base, or if you have unit and unit costs, that would actually be really helpful in the process, because we've seen that in the past that it's really nice to be able to do that. The other element that I'll talk about, and really this is just kind of a conversation, this has come up with several applicants even this year about public support. So what we're looking for is either a presentation and a list of citizens that have been part of that process. You're all very much aware of the resolutions of support that's needed. Again, just to reiterate from the training before, if the resolution of support is over 5 years old, at least revisit it to see if your commission's the same. Perhaps if your commission's changed even a third, it might be a good idea to update the resolution of support just to reaffirm that that's a project that they're looking at. But as far as the public support, even if it's meeting minutes from a meeting that you've had, survey results about the meeting, anything that gives us a sense that the public has been engaged, that's a huge help for us, and that can also boost the points of your score. So from there, we'll start with any questions that you might have about the process. But what we were showing you was the basis of where we've seen in the applications that applicants could bump up their scores by being aware of the geographic evaluations that we have, identifying if we need to be looking for school zones, that's really helpful, or if we're filling a gap. We're really trying to center this and the process on what can make your applications as competitive as can be. So I'll go ahead and take your questions. So it is open. I do not show anything yet, but please let us know what questions you have. Okay, so we just got a question as to where will the recording be posted. It is on our YouTube channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here so that way I can open up the website that I mentioned to you before. Oh, and then actually let me change that. My apologies. I'm going to show you where you can access it. And what you'll do is if you subscribe to the website, right here, it shows you can subscribe for news and events. In this particular case, and I'll show you the latest news that we did, that the training video is available on how to complete an application. So you just go in there and we link it directly to our YouTube channel. So we would also recommend that you highlight that. We have all our trainings get updated there for every year. So you can actually see that as part of the process. Let me go back to here. All right. More questions? It seems that resumes are now needed. No, I don't think that's what, let me go back to that. I think what you might have been seeing, and let's go here, is what we're looking for is it's not necessarily resumes, oh, this is one in which the consultant's been selected. Let me go back. Because I think what you're talking about is when you're asked to do a work plan. Let me see, I think, is it this one? Nope, 1 second. Must be 2009. There you go. Yeah, so if you are not using a consultant, in this particular case, they're doing the design, you're doing it in-house. It's not necessarily a resume. Uploading in-house staff qualifications, it can mean a lot of things. If anything, it's helpful to know whether you have a PE on staff. That's part of the process. Whether you have a construction group, anything related to that. So we're simply just trying to align to make sure that if you're going to be doing the work, it's just to verify that you have the qualifications. So this is really backup for us. This does not impact your score. This is just information that we keep as part of the application, because should you get recommended in your project moving forward, there will be some questions related to that. All right, and then we've got another question. Bring it back to here. If we are updating existing application, do you need to provide additional information about public outreach? No, you can update an application at any time in any portion of it. That is absolutely fine. If you have new public information, though, we do recommend that you would include it on there. If there's any questions, we give some demonstration on that, on how to complete an application. We go through an entire process as to how to update an application. You can do as many variables as you want. All right, leave a little more time for some more questions. But yeah, I definitely recommend for anyone who did not attend the training last Wednesday. It's an hour training. It's on the YouTube channel, and it will take you through 5 different scenarios: creating a new application, updating an application. We also have a new feature now that if your application was reviewed last year and it's gone through the 3-step guideline, you can submit it at that point with just one click. You don't have to go over the process again. And then we also do an update on a project that's been funded, a project if it's received funding for design. How would you update an application for construction as well? So it takes you through each one of those scenarios. All right, I do have one more question. It's if our commission has previously approved a master plan that has several projects in it and we want to apply for one of these projects, is a resolution of support still needed, or will the master plan approved for by the commission satisfy? We would recommend that you do a separate resolution of support for that project. Now, you can group projects together if there's multiple projects in that master plan, but approving the master plan isn't necessarily the same thing as saying that you want to go after surtax funding. So we would really recommend, just to check mark off all the boxes, that you go back to your commission and just do a resolution of support for that project or the projects that you're interested in getting surtax funding. It would definitely help your project file. All right, I'm gonna leave it open for a couple more seconds. See if there's any other questions. All right, and as was stated before, we will be recording this. We will be posting it on the YouTube channel. So if you want to rewatch anything, you certainly can do that. All right, so action items for you as applicants. Again, first we want to start with just thank you for attending. These training sessions are helpful for us as much as we hope that we are for you. It gives us an opportunity to show you new ideas that we've put together, new processes, and essentially new functionalities of the portal that hopefully makes your life that much more easy. After this many cycles, I think we've gotten it to the point where we've gotten the application process down to roughly it takes most applicants anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes to get the application done in time to fill out on the 3 steps. Now, admittedly, you have to have your information together, but most of you have projects within your data portal. So that's the good news. So it shouldn't be too much effort if you're looking to apply this year to go through it. So again, we just really appreciate you attending this, and our recommended list of activities is there to really help you through the process. I would really recommend visiting that website right out of the gate. Make sure that you get your password. Any questions about obtaining your password, we did in the previous training. We show you the questionnaire and how to get that done. And if you ever wish to meet with us and have a one-on-one, you can do that through the new MCP website, so which we had shown earlier on here. So again, thank you everyone for your participation, and I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.